It starts the way most terrifying things do. Quietly, no loud music, no warning, no shadowy figure standing in plain sight. Just a normal night. The street was calm, the kind of calm that makes you feel safe without even thinking about it. Streetlights hummed faintly above empty sidewalks. The air carried that soft stillness you only notice when nothing is wrong. And that's exactly why no one ever suspects the moment when everything begins to go wrong. He had walked this route dozens of times before. Same houses, same turns, same comforting familiarity. 2 blocks, that's all it took to reach her house. And yet on that particular night, something felt different. Not obvious, not dramatic. Just asterisk off. At first, it was barely noticeable. A faint rustling sound. Behind him. He slowed slightly, just enough to listen, but not enough to admit he was nervous. His eyes stayed forward, his pace steady. It's nothing, he told himself. Probably the wind. Or a stray animal. Because that's what your brain does. It protects you by lying. But then it happened again. This time sharper. A twig snapping. Not random. Not natural. Deliberate. He stopped. Slowly turned his head. Nothing. Just rows of bushes lining the sidewalks, perfectly still, like they had never moved at all. And that's when the first real feeling hit him. Not fear. Not yet. Just asterisk awareness. You know that feeling, right? When your body senses something before your mind understands it. That quiet signal. You're not alone. He picked up his pace. Not running, that would be ridiculous. Just walking faster. More purposefully. As if convincing himself that he was still in control. But now every sound mattered. Every movement. Every shadow. Then came the third noise. Closer. Much closer. Footsteps. Soft, quick, almost careful. Like someone trying not to be heard. His heart skipped. He turned again, faster this time. Still nothing. Empty street. Empty sidewalks. No one. And yet, the feeling didn't go away. It got worse. Because now, it wasn't just a possibility anymore. It was a certainty. Someone was there. Up ahead, he could finally see it. Her house. Warm light glowing from the upstairs window. Safety. Relief. He pulled out his phone, trying to sound casual as she answered. Hey, I'm almost there. But his voice betrayed him. Slightly shaky. Just enough. She noticed. Are you okay? He hesitated. How do you explain something you can't prove? I think someone's following me. Silence. Then a soft, nervous laugh. You're just being paranoid. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was all in his head. Maybe. Wait. Her voice changed. Completely. Don't move. He froze. Every muscle locked. His breath caught somewhere between his chest and his throat. Why, he whispered. There was a pause. The kind that stretches just long enough to feel like something terrible is about to happen. Then she said it. Soft. Confused. Terrified. Who is that behind you? Time stopped. Not metaphorically. It genuinely felt like the world paused. Like reality itself hesitated. Slowly. Very slowly. He turned around. And there he was. A man. Crouched. Too close. Far too close. Moving toward him in slow, careful steps, like a predator that had been stalking its prey for far too long. For a split second, neither of them moved. just stared, locked in a moment that would replay in his mind for years. Then instinct took over. He ran. His footsteps slammed against the pavement as panic exploded through his body. He didn't think, didn't look back. Just ran. Toward the house. Toward the door. Toward anything that meant survival. But he wasn't fast enough. A hand grabbed him. Strong, sudden, violent. An arm wrapped around his neck, pulling him backward. The world spun. Air disappeared. His body reacted before his mind could catch up, struggling, twisting, fighting with everything he had. This wasn't fear anymore. This was asterisk survival. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the grip loosened. The man let go. No warning. No reason. He simply ran, vanishing into the same darkness he had come from. The door burst open. Voices. Hands pulling him inside. Safety finally. But his body didn't feel safe. His heart was still racing. His hands shaking uncontrollably. Because one thought kept echoing in his mind. How long had he been there? Watching, following, waiting, and more importantly, why did he stop? Because sometimes, the scariest part of a story isn't what happens. It's what almost happens. But that was just one night. One moment. One close call. The truth is, not every story ends with someone getting away. Not every knock is harmless. Not every voice belongs to someone you trust. And sometimes, the danger doesn't chase you. It invites itself in. Because in the next story asterisk, a stormy night turns into something far worse. When a stranger doesn't just knock, he begs to be let inside. And the only thing more terrifying than what's outside the door is what might happen if you open it. Storms have a strange way of changing things. They don't just darken the sky. They distort reality. Sounds become louder. Shadows stretch longer. And the world outside your window starts to feel unfamiliar. Almost like something else is moving within it. That night the rain didn't fall. It attacked. Relentless sheets of water slammed against the house, rattling windows and drowning out nearly every other sound. Thunder rolled across the sky like something alive, something angry. Inside, everything felt normal, comfortable, safe. The TV flickered softly in the living room. Laughter from a comedy show filled the air. His parents were relaxed, unaware of anything unusual. Upstairs, his sister was lost in a video game, headphones on, completely disconnected from the storm outside. And in his room, he was alone. He liked nights like this. There was something calming about storms. The chaos outside made the inside feel warmer, protected. Like nothing could reach him. Like nothing would dare try. And then, bang, the sound exploded against his window. Not thunder, not wind, something else, something intentional. He jumped, heart instantly racing as he turned toward the glass. For a moment, he didn't move, didn't breathe, just stared. Another bang, louder, closer. Slowly, he stood up and walked toward the window, each step heavier than the last. The rain blurred everything outside, turning the world into a distorted mess of movement and shadows. But then, he saw it. A figure, standing just beyond the glass. A man, soaked, face barely visible through the downpour. But what stood out wasn't how he looked. It was what he was doing. He was pounding on the window. Desperately. Wildly, "Help me," the man screamed. But the storm swallowed most of his voice, turning it into something broken, something unnatural. "Please let me in." The boy hesitated. Every instinct in his body told him something was wrong. But another voice, quieter, more human, whispered something else. What if he's really in danger? That's the trap. Fear doesn't always look like fear. Sometimes, it looks like someone asking for help. He moved closer. Carefully, slowly, the man's hand slammed harder against the glass now. His movements frantic, desperate, almost rehearsed. The boy cracked the window open slightly, just enough to hear him. Rain immediately sprayed inside, cold and sharp. "Please," the man shouted. "They're after me, I'm hurt." His voice shook, but not in the way you'd expect. There was something off about it, something that didn't match the panic in his eyes. "Go to the front door," the boy yelled back. "I'll get my dad." The man froze for a split second. Just a moment, but long enough. Then he nodded. Too quickly, too eagerly, and disappeared from the window. The boy shut it immediately, his hands trembling. Something didn't feel right. Not at all. He rushed out of his room, nearly slipping on the stairs as he ran down. "Dad, there's a man outside," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "He says he needs help." His father stood up instantly, concerned, alert, ready to act. That's what good people do. They help. They don't question. They don't assume the worst. And sometimes, that's exactly what makes them vulnerable. The knocking started again, this time at the front door. Loud, aggressive, unrelenting. "Help me," the man shouted from outside, his voice clearer now. Too clear. The father moved toward the door, hand reaching for the handle. "Wait." The boy's voice cut through the moment. Sharp, urgent. His dad paused, turned. "I don't think something's right," the boy said. And for the first time, someone listened to that instinct. Then, the phone rang. A sudden, piercing sound that seemed to slice through the tension in the room. Everyone froze. The father grabbed it quickly. "Hello." Silence. Then a voice. Fast, panicked. Urgent. From the neighbor. "What?" the father said, his expression changing instantly. "No way." The boy's stomach dropped. He didn't know why, but he knew. This was bad. Very bad. The father slowly lowered the phone, turned toward the door. But this time, he didn't move to open it. Instead, he stepped toward the window, peeking carefully through the side. And what he saw changed everything. The man wasn't just standing there anymore. He was crouched, holding something. Something long, something heavy, something sharp. An axe. The same man who had been begging for help was now gripping a weapon, waiting for the door to open. The father stepped back immediately, his voice no longer calm, no longer unsure. "Everyone stay away from the door." The knocking continued, louder now, more aggressive, more desperate, but not for help, for entry. "I know you're in there," the man shouted. The tone had changed, completely. Gone was the desperation. Gone was the fear. Now there was only anger, rage, and something far more dangerous. Intent. The father grabbed his phone again, dialed the police. Outside, the man continued pounding, the sound echoing through the house like a heartbeat. Vast, relentless, unstoppable. Minutes passed, but it felt like hours. Then suddenly, silence. The knocking stopped. No footsteps. No voice. No movement. Just nothing. The father slowly looked through the window again. He was gone. Vanished. As if he had never been there at all. But he had been there. Very real. Very close. The police arrived later. Lights flashing against the wet pavement, breaking the illusion of normalcy that had already been shattered. They searched the area and found him, not far away, walking calmly, like nothing had happened. The neighbor later revealed something that made everything worse. He had seen the man earlier that night, breaking into a shed, coming out with that same axe, which meant one thing. That man was never a victim, never someone in danger. He was hunting, and that house was almost his next target. The storm eventually passed. The skis cleared. Life returned to normal. But something inside that house never did. Because once you realize how close danger can get, how easily it can lie, how convincingly it can pretend, you stop seeing the world the same way. You start questioning everything. Every knock, every stranger, every cry for help. Because sometimes, the real danger doesn't break in. It asks to be invited. And sometimes, it sounds exactly like someone you trust. Because in the next story, a young child hears something impossible. A voice calling from the darkness. A voice that sounds exactly like his mother. But there's just one problem. His mother isn't there. And whatever is calling him knows his name. There's something deeply unsettling about voices. Not loud ones, not screams, but the familiar ones. The ones you trust without thinking. The ones your brain recognizes instantly, before logic has time to catch up. Because if you hear a stranger call your name, you hesitate. But if you hear someone you love, you respond. Without question, without fear. And that's exactly what makes this story so dangerous. He was just a kid, too young to understand fear the way adults do, too innocent to question the world around him. That evening felt ordinary. Cartoons playing loudly in the living room, bright colors flickering across the screen, laughter echoing through the house. His parents were upstairs. At least that's what he thought. Everything felt normal, safe, predictable, until he heard it. Hey, his name, softly spoken, from somewhere below. He frowned, turned down the volume slightly. Mom. No response. He shrugged it off. Maybe she didn't hear him. Maybe the TV was too loud. Then it came again. This time clearer, more direct. Come here. His name again. From the basement. Now basements are strange places. Even in the safest homes. They hold a different kind of silence. Heavier, colder. The kind of silence that makes you feel like you're being watched. Even when you're alone. He stood up slowly, eyes drifting toward the basement door. There was no reason to be scared. His mom was probably down there. Maybe doing laundry. Maybe calling him for something simple. So he walked, step by step, toward the door. Each step felt louder than it should have. The floor creaked beneath him. The TV noise faded behind him. And then, He reached the top of the basement stairs. Darkness. Not total darkness, but enough to hide everything that mattered. "Mom," he called again. Nothing. He took a step down, then another. The air felt different, cooler. Still, halfway down the stairs, he stopped. Something didn't feel right. You know that feeling, that sudden shift, that quiet warning your body sends before your mind understands why. He looked into the darkness, trying to make sense of shapes, trying to find movement, trying to find her. But there was nothing. No sound, no footsteps, no presence, just silence. He turned around, ready to go back upstairs, ready to forget the whole thing. And then, "Don't leave." The voice again, right behind him, from the basement. Closer now, much closer. He froze. That wasn't possible. His heart started pounding. Louder, faster, harder. Slowly, he turned his head. Just slightly. The darkness hadn't changed, but it felt different now. Alive. Watching. "Come down," the voice said again. Still his mother's voice. Still perfect. Still familiar. But something about it was wrong. Not the sound. Not the tone. The feeling. Because it wasn't warm. It wasn't comforting. It was empty. Cold. Like something was copying her voice, without understanding what it meant. And in that moment, he knew that wasn't his mother. He ran up the stairs, fast, tripping over his own feet, barely making it to the top. "Mom," he screamed. And then, footsteps from upstairs. His real mother rushed down, concerned, confused. "What's wrong?" He could barely speak, tears streaming down his face, words tangled in panic. Something called me from the basement." She frowned, gently grabbed his shoulders. "I didn't call you," she said. The words hit harder than anything else, because now it was confirmed. That voice was never hers. To calm him down, she walked toward the basement, turned on the light, checked everything. Nothing. No one there. No open windows. No sign of movement. No explanation. Just an empty basement. But it didn't feel empty. Not to him, because he knew what he heard. And deep down, he knew something else. Whatever had called him had known exactly what it was doing. It knew his name. It knew who to sound like. And it knew exactly how to get him closer. Because if he had taken just a few more steps, if he had gone all the way down, what would have happened? That's the question that stayed with him. Not just that night, but for years. Because some fears don't come from what you see. They come from what you almost did. And sometimes, the scariest thing isn't being chased. It's being called. Because in the next story, a quiet evening walk turns into a fight for survival. A man, a lonely path, and a shadow that refuses to stay behind. At first, it looks like coincidence, then curiosity, then concern, until it becomes something else entirely. Something that doesn't just follow. It waits for the perfect moment to strike. And this time, there's no house nearby, no door to run to, no one to call for help. Just you and whatever is walking behind you. Some places don't need darkness to be frightening. They don't need abandoned buildings. or broken windows, or eerie silence. Sometimes, all it takes is asterisk distance. Distance from people, from help, from safety. Because when you're far enough away from everything, even the smallest threat becomes something much worse. His grandfather had lived most of his life in that place. A quiet stretch of land surrounded by open fields and thick woods, no neighbors for miles, no traffic, no noise. Just wind, trees, and long, endless paths that seemed to disappear into nowhere. It was peaceful. At least, that's what everyone thought. Every evening just before sunset, he followed the same routine. Same code, same path, same companion. A small dog, energetic, loyal, always alert. The kind of dog that notices things humans don't. That evening started no differently. The sky burned orange as the sun dipped lower. The air was calm, with just enough breeze to rustle the leaves. They walked along the dirt trail that curved gently along the edge of the woods. Everything felt normal, until they passed him. A man, standing on the path. He wasn't doing anything unusual. Not at first glance. Just standing there, wearing a long coat, hood pulled low over his face. As they approached, the dog reacted immediately. Tension, low growl, then barking. Not playful, not curious. Warning. The grandfather pulled gently on the leash. "Easy," he muttered, trying to calm the dog. "Evening," he said to the man as they passed. No response. The man didn't look up, didn't nod, didn't acknowledge them at all. He just stood there, still, silent. And then, they passed him. It should have ended there. A strange encounter. Nothing more. But it didn't, because the dog wouldn't stop, even after they had walked far past the man. The barking continued, relentless, aggressive, and every few seconds, the dog would look back. That's what made him stop. That repeated motion, that constant need to check behind. So he turned, and what he saw made his chest tighten. The man was no longer on the path. He was standing behind a tree, watching, not hiding, not fully, just enough to make it clear. He didn't want to be seen, but he also wasn't leaving. The distance between them wasn't far. Too close for comfort, too far to react immediately. The grandfather felt it then. That shift, that quiet realization. This wasn't random. He picked up his pace. The dog didn't need encouragement. It moved faster too. Still barking, still looking back. Minutes passed. Then, a sound. Footsteps. Behind him. Quick, soft, closing the distance. He didn't turn this time. Didn't need to. He already knew. The footsteps got closer. 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 And then, a hand, sudden, violent, clamped over his mouth. The world snapped into chaos. He struggled instantly. Instinct taking over. Trying to breathe. Trying to break free. The grip tightened. The smell of fabric. The pressure against his face. He couldn't scream. The dog lunged. Barking turned into snarling. Teeth snapping. Fighting. That moment changed everything. Because the attacker hesitated. Just enough. Just long enough. For him to react. His hand shot into his coat pocket. grabbing the only thing he had. Pepper spray. He didn't aim carefully, didn't think, didn't hesitate. He sprayed. Again, and again, and again. A burst of chaos. The man screamed. The grip loosened. And just like that, he was free. He didn't look back. He ran, as fast as his body would allow. The dog keeping pace beside him, still barking, still ready to fight. The house came into view. Closer, closer. Safety. He reached the door, burst inside, locked it, and only then did the reality hit him. He had almost been taken. Not robbed, not threatened. Taken. Out there, on that empty path. No one would have heard him. No one would have seen. He would have simply disappeared. And the worst part, that man didn't attack immediately. He waited, watched, followed. He chose the moment, because that's what makes someone truly dangerous. Not strength, not weapons, patience. But the stories don't stop there, because sometimes the danger isn't following you. It's already waiting, inside a place you thought was abandoned, a place no one should be, a place kids are told to stay away from. But curiosity always wins. And in the next story, two friends decide to explore an empty house. Just for fun, just for adventure. But what they find inside isn't abandoned. It isn't forgotten. And it isn't fake. Because sometimes, the scariest discoveries are the ones that prove something horrible is very, very real. There's a certain kind of place every town has. You know the one. The house no one talks about. The one kids dare each other to go near, but never inside. The one that sits quietly, collecting dust, as if time itself decided to forget it. Windows broken or covered. Paint peeling. Yard overgrown. It becomes more than just a house. It becomes a story. A rumor. A warning. And like all warnings, it gets ignored. They were just kids. Too young to understand consequences. Too curious to walk away. That night felt like freedom. Bikes rolling down quiet streets. Laughter echoing into the dark. No parents watching. No rules to follow. Just two friends, looking for something to break the boredom. And that's when they saw it. The house, still standing, still silent, still wrong. "Let's check it out," one of them said. Half joking, half serious. There was a pause, just long enough for doubt to exist. Then the other one nodded. That's all it takes. One moment, one decision. They rode closer. Slowly, the closer they got, the quieter everything felt. No wind, no distant sounds, no movement, just the house. Watching, waiting. One of them pointed. Look, at the window. There was something there. A face, barely visible between the curtains. Not moving, not blinking, just staring. They froze. Is that a person? Neither of them answered. Because they didn't know. It didn't look right. Too still. Too perfect. Maybe it's fake, one of them said. Trying to sound brave. Trying to convince himself. So they moved closer. Step by step. The driveway cracked beneath their feet. Their bikes dropped quietly to the ground. The house loomed above them now. That face still there, still watching, until finally, they saw it clearly. A head, just a head, sitting at the window, not attached to anything. They both let out nervous laughs. Dude, it's just a decoration. Relief. Instant. Comforting. Because fake is safe. Fake can't hurt you. But real is something else entirely. And that's when curiosity took over. If someone put that there, the door might be open. A terrible idea. The kind that feels exciting in the moment and horrifying seconds later. They moved to the back. The door was unlocked. Of course it was. Because something like this doesn't need to be locked. They stepped inside. The air hit them first. Rotten. Heavy. Wrong. The kind of smell your body reacts to before your mind understands. They covered their noses. Moved slowly. The house was dark, but not completely. Just enough light to see shapes. Furniture. Walls. Doorways. Everything still. Everything untouched. Except, it didn't feel empty. They made their way to the living room. Toward the window. Toward the decoration. One of them reached out. Picked it up. And then, everything changed. He dropped it instantly. Screaming. Not because it moved. Not because it made a sound. But because of how it felt. Soft. Warm. Real. The head hit the floor. And something dark started to spread. Slowly. Blood. Thick. Fresh. Too fresh. Both of them stared. Frozen. Unable to process what they were seeing. That wasn't a decoration. That was a human head. Severed. And placed there. On purpose. As a message. And then, a sound. Above them. A creak. Soft. But unmistakable. Footsteps. From the ceiling. From upstairs. They looked at each other. Eyes wide. Breathing shallow. Because now, they understood something even worse. They weren't alone. Whoever had put that head there might still be inside. Watching. Listening. Waiting. The second creak came faster. Closer. That was enough. They ran. Not thinking. Not stopping. Out the back door. Grabbing their bikes. Almost falling as they rushed to escape. Pedaling faster than they ever had before. They didn't look back. They didn't speak. They just ran. And only when they were far, far away did they finally stop. Trying to breathe. Trying to understand. Trying to forget. But some things don't let you forget. Because later, they found out the truth. That head belonged to someone. Someone who had been killed. And that house was never empty. It was being used by people capable of something far worse than fear. And the sounds they heard, those footsteps, they weren't imagination. They were real. And whoever made them was coming down. That's the thing about curiosity. It pulls you in. Closer. Deeper. Until you see something you were never meant to see. And once you do, there's no going back. Because the world changes. Every quiet street feels different. Every stranger feels suspicious. Every empty place feels like it's hiding something. Because after everything you've just heard, there's one question that lingers. How many times Have you walked past something dangerous without even realizing it? How many times did you feel something was wrong, but ignored it? Because the truth is, danger doesn't always look dangerous. Sometimes it looks normal. Sometimes it looks harmless. And sometimes it waits until you step just a little too close.